Hey everybody. If you can't tell, I have a different background this time. This is actually in real time. Today is October 19th and it is 4:04 p.m. Apparently we have had some issues with Blackboard. I know that's kind of a shock. If you've used an online program like Blackboard before, you know that it's not always the most reliable, but it'll get us through it. It's a good program. We just got to get through it. Um, that being said, we don't have a lot of time, so please bear with me while I try to rerun this. The basic thing I wanted you to see is that after looking at your writing, I noticed some things, even with what I've seen so far. So I want to try to show you how to fix your introductions and things like that as your first essay is coming up really quickly because it's an 7.5 week class basically. So just bear with me. This is the one that I wanted you to review and then actually go back and do a discussion board about it. It won't take you very long, but just bear with me. So first of all, these are the strengths and weaknesses of your introductions that I have seen so far. So most of you covered everything I asked you to cover in this introductory paragraph, and that was a strength. I mean, you did a good job. This is not meant to be incredibly easy. I wanted you to reflect on what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then I wanted you to make that T-chart so that it was more of a self-reflection. Then tell me what your fear is for this course, and try to make all of that work into an introductory paragraph. It's not really meant to be easy, but it's doable. So, again, great job overall. Sentence variation has been pretty good. Again, due to the level of the class, we want to make sure that we're staying as far away from simple sentences as we can. So use compound sentences, use complex sentences, use compound complex sentences. If you need help with that, let me know and I'll do what I can in the short amount of time I have. Most of you flowed your ideas together fairly well for it to be so weird, right? Weaknesses. I'm seeing a lot of people list their thesis or, have lists in general. In other words, you listed out what your strengths are, and then you listed out what your weaknesses are, and then you try to make the paragraph be like a sentence per list. A lot of people do that, and that'll translate into, if you weren't just doing a paragraph and you were doing an essay, then you would say, I like my favorite types of ice cream are chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Well, then that tells me when I'm going into the essay that my first paragraph is going to be about what? Chocolate. Second is going to be about what? Strawberry. It's predictable. It's boring. So we want to stay away from that. You were taught that in, elementary school, middle school, do the 5 paragraph formulaic essay. That's restrictive. That's not creative. Let's stay away from it. People, again, using simple sentences, too wordy or redundant, useless words. A lot of fluff is what I like to call it. Grammar is an issue. We're talking about you need to make sure that you're capitalizing the first letter of a sentence, that the parallelism piece is there. You have a lot of comma splices, and comma splice is an actual type 1 error. So if you're not careful, type 1 errors, as you get up into these different Englishes and even higher courses, period, those can fail your paper automatically, so be careful. Spelling is an issue. Stating your thesis first and allowing the reader to guess what we're talking about. Fragmentation, a lot of fragmentations, and phrases like because of this. So because of this is something that I struggle with. I like to say things like that being said. That's how I start out what I'm trying to say. So just be careful that you don't fall into the same issue that I did. So overall, how should you have written it? First and foremost, most important thing, period, end of discussion, purpose and audience. It doesn't matter what essay you're ever asked to write. It doesn't matter what it's about. It doesn't matter if it's, expository, argumentative. It does not matter as long as you understand who your audience is, who you're writing to, and the purpose of it. Like, what are you trying to get across? So your thesis statement tips for writing one. The big deal is just understand you've got to first know what your paper is. So analytical, expository, argumentative, that's the overall gist. Like what is it that you're trying to accomplish? Then having that introduction, this is just a basic format, okay? This is just, and I've given you an example, but you've got your hook, it doesn't have to, try to stay away from questions. I get a lot of that in these classes. Don't say, do you know what the most famous animal in the world is? No, this is formal writing. You're not in elementary school, so stay away from that. Have a good hook. Use a statistic, use a quote, use something just to get their attention. Create interest, then provide the necessary background information. All I mean by that is that if you're writing an essay about Hurricane Michael and You're writing, a third grader is writing to a meteorologist, telling them about hurricanes. Well, does that meteorologist need to know what a hurricane is? No, not necessarily. But if your audience is somebody who has never seen a hurricane before, that is not an issue for them in their country where they live, then maybe you do want to give that background information. So just things that you need. Identify your main idea, which is like you're growing, and then preview the rest of your essay with a thesis statement without telling them, what you're going to say. So avoid the 3-point thesis. So what do I mean by that? So your thesis statement will identify your main point and preview the rest of your essay. This can be either 1 or 2 sentences. It is, you commonly people think that it needs to be at the beginning, like you're starting out. You really need to put it as the last or next to last sentence in the introductory paragraph. That's a strong writer. So a sample essay topic. This is one that I've seen on an SAT and an introductory to like a college essay writing kind of deal. What is one important goal you would like to achieve in the next few years? In your essay, identify that one goal and explain how you plan to achieve it. Use your personal observations, experience, and knowledge to support your essay. Again, this is something you've probably heard before. I mean, they use it every time as like a weed out to see how good of a writer you are for this college. So while this is not necessarily formal, because this prompt I was allowed to use first, second, third person, that kind of deal. In your essays, you always want to use third person. Never use first or second. So you would never say I, me, my, you, your. You always want to say there, or one might think that. You want to make it formal, avoid that. So here's our topic. This is a sample introductory paragraph. I know it's kind of silly, but go with me. So making goals for myself and working toward them keeps me on my toes and makes my life interesting. So that's a hook. That from the very beginning makes the reader kind of be like, okay, so how's your life interesting? Yeah. There are many goals that I would like to achieve throughout my life. Now we want to know what those are. I've begun working toward many of them by looking into going back to school and thinking about what I'd like to do for a career. So that gives us background. That sets up the why. One major goal I would like to accomplish in the next few years is getting a better job. So we're growing into the thesis, but we're not quite there yet. And obtaining this, I have developed a plan. That's it. Like, I don't know what the plan is, but I know that this paper is going to be about the plan. So that's why it's our thesis without, there's no 3 points to prove, just stay away from that. So your thesis statement should be specific. It should cover only what you will discuss in your paper, and it should be supported with specific evidence. So be careful about that. We don't want to have something that is totally off the wall, and then we have the essay is completely different from the thesis. Be careful. It usually appears at the end of the first paragraph, and your topic may change as you write. So feel free to change it. If you write the whole thing and then you're like, you know what, I don't like that as much, go back and change it. It's okay. The 4 Ds: define, divide, discuss, drive home. So I put a little breakdown at the bottom of this. So basically we're defining what the reader for what the essay is going to be about, or other written work, whatever you're going to do. It divides the topic out into parts that are going to be discussed. Again, not a 3-paragraph, like we're not trying to do a point 1, point 2, point 3, just knowing what the division is, like what is going to support your thesis. And then those are the points that you're going to discuss, and then you're going to drive your point home. So very quickly, a strong thesis takes some sort of stance. So I've given you different examples of this. There are, these very brief points. So there are some negative and positive aspects to the banana herb tea supplement. This is weak because now I haven't specified anything. I don't know if the whole essay is going to be about both. I mean, either be glad about it or don't, pick a side. Because banana herb tea supplement promotes rapid weight loss that results in the loss of muscle and lean body mass, it poses a potential danger to customers. Now I know that they are against it. It takes a stand. Number 2, a strong thesis justifies discussion. My family is an extended family. Congratulations. It's very weak. So we want to, add to that. So while most American families would view consanguineal marriage as a threat to the nuclear family structure, many Iranian families believe that these marriages help reinforce kinship ties in an extended family. So now we're specific, and we're talking about something that justifies discussion. This is something that, a lot of people don't know what a consanguineal marriage is. They don't know what it means why it would be a threat to them. So that's what we're talking about. We're setting ourselves up for a discussion. 3, with strong thesis statement expresses one main idea. I call this rabbit trailing. If you don't know where you're headed, you're going to go all over the place. So have a focus. So companies need to exploit the marketing potential of the internet, and web pages can provide both advertising and customer support. So this essay could be about the marketing potential of the internet and how companies need to exploit it. It could be about web pages and how those web pages provide advertising and customer support. There's a lot. And so your essay is going to be forever long and it's not going to have a focus. So a strong version would be, because the internet is filled with tremendous marketing potential, companies should exploit this potential by using web pages that offer both advertising and customer support. So one thing that we can focus on. And last but not least, for a strong thesis statement is specific. So weak, world hunger has many causes and effects. Yes, and it's not giving us anything. Strong, hunger persists in Appalachia because jobs are scarce and farming in the infertile soil is rarely profitable. So now, hunger, specifically in Appalachia, why that is, and how that the soil is actually making it fertile and it's playing into it. So again, hopefully this helped you with your writing side of things. This is what I want you to reflect on. Is, I've looked through it. I know I've got some more to look through. I know there was issues with where we put it. You were trying to put it in the right place. I don't know why the system knocked out the ability to create a thread. I didn't set it up that way. It was the same as all the rest. So, again, I'm not sure what happened. Some students have already emailed me saying that it is fixed now. So please go back in and try to put it there. Even if I've already seen it, because if you put it under essay 1 out of necessity, I've got to kick that out so you can actually submit your first essay. So bear with me. I think we should be good from here on out. I think, technology's on it, so maybe we'll be good. Just review this, do the discussion board reflection, and I will be putting up a narrative PowerPoint over the weekend that you can review and kind of be looking at for Monday. So don't stress out. Like I said in the email, I will send out on Sunday an email to everybody saying, hey, look, this is what we're looking at. This is what we need to accomplish this week, so that you're all on the same page. So just review this in lesson 1 folder, do the discussion board for this PowerPoint specifically, and don't stress out about the other for right now. Have a good day, guys.